but I don't think there's a single player other than Canadian
Oh my.
suffered the amount of heartbreak.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as I don't mean that in a negative sense. I'm not trying to poke fun at Canadian. I mean in the sense that he has quite literally been forged in the fires of disappointment and defeat. And because of that, if there's anybody who can lead by experience, it's him. And this was one of the things when he came on the space station that the team talked about, was that he could pull them out of the rut.
Yeah.
DZ have discussed it as well. DZ would get hard on themselves, while Canadian can motivate them and bring them back. And it's not just him. There's a supporting cast there as well. Can Heroic do that? Because Uno has suffered disappointment as well, but not to the same level. And the rest of this Heroic roster is still nowhere near as experienced as this DZ roster is playing at this top level in international events. It takes a very, very strong leader to say to the team and to be able to motivate the team, hey, we blew it.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. We were up 5-3. We let us get in our heads. The timeout didn't work. DZ fired up. We screwed up one round in particular. We need to fix this. Shake it off. Let's get into the matchup and let's play differently. Because the way that a theme park map plays is very different from Chalet and Border.
Oh, totally.
So not only do you need to be prepared for a change up in style and pacing, but you also need to do that with the backdrop of you being angry. And Heroic need to get out of that funk.
Yeah, I mean, we speak about Canadian being the leader of, DC and Uno of Heroic, and if you guys recall the player cameras from Heroic side after they lost in Chalet just like 5 minutes ago, it's like Uno sitting in the middle and 4, team members just turning their head toward him. He's like, okay, leader, what do we do now? There's so much pressure on the individuals, the leaders of these two squads. And one is Canadian, one of probably the most accomplished player, arguably in the space, winning with so many different rosters and teams throughout so many different meta games of Rainbow Six Siege. And then you have Uno, a person who joined the team that was G2 right after their prime and then kind of started falling off, who never found success with the team, unfortunately, never lifted a trophy with them, who's now trying to build this thing for himself as the leader of Heroic, being the LGL, being the captain, taking all that responsibility, and getting so close in this first Pistol Thief Invite 2023, but they need to go a little bit further. In Theme Park, yes, it plays out so differently than both Border and Chalet. It is much more focused around the strategical elements of how to breach the walls, where to breach them, this armory thrown bomb site itself. I mean, you can be 5 men on the bomb site holding down that like a fortress if you want to. But of course, at this level of play, if you're not going to do a soft roam, it's a little bit too easy to get map control too quickly, so you gotta do something. That something is Noodle jumping out of a window again, just like he tried on Chalet, but this time he goes punished as there are 3 members of DarkZero just holding that window, essentially.
Inconsistency from both of these teams. You saw the score sheet for that Chalet matchup just moments ago, showing that some of the players who had some struggles on Border had turned things around, and some of the players who had struggles on Chalet had turned it around as well. Sloth and Skies were the two that I think are easiest to focus on when it comes to their ability to show up. And again, Sloth and Noodle only officially, quote-unquote, being on this team since, what is it, February 1st. So it's been a relatively new period of time for Heroic, though I will say that just because somebody is announced on that time doesn't necessarily mean that they've just joined that team. Sometimes it's just when the transfer window opens, and sometimes it's just when you get announced, but you've already been scrimming with that squad for a couple months.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta make the announcement videos, make it all funny and exciting, right? You can't just say, oh, this guy joined that team, get excited for us. Woo! Gotta make it engaging content pieces. And with a minute to go, DarkZero, they've yet to breach anything on this map. Now, they do have secondary MPs in the pocket of Canadian on the Dokkaebi. Those might come in handy. There are jammers on the board. Bit of vertical play being done, of course, to shut down some of the mute jammers. Prep C4 does 0 damage to the attack inside.
Which frankly does not connect, but the legs of one of the defenders spotted out by NJR as the buck of Pambazoo goes to work up top. Grizzly pinned down inside of the bomb site. Nowhere to go but out. And he's dispatched. 2 players from Heroic side by side on Throne. That'll be Sloth and Uno. Joom has to get back into the bomb site as he's losing all of his teammates. Skies gets the diffuser down, almost no damage done to DZ in the process. This is a dominant round. Uno's the last man standing, and that's it. DZ starts off that round. It's an exclamation mark. Flawlessly done with diffuser down. Pretty much perfect for DarkZero.
And to make it seem even worse, that right there is one of the, if not the, most defender-sided bomb side in all of Siege in the current 9-map map pool. So it can't really get much worse than that in that scenario, and I do think there's a big question to be raised here. Do you go back to Armory Throne as Heroic because it's such a strong bomb site, or do you go elsewhere because it failed? There are things that can be done differently, right? The Rome game fell apart early, Noodle opted for a very aggressive jump out, got punished. Now Heroic knows DC are playing this slow game, expecting aggression and then going to punish it. If Heroic does not give that to DarkZero, that could drastically change the outcome of that round. And outside of that, also of course, bomb site itself, no tricks were had, no kite on the board. DC got every breach relatively for free, and when all those walls gets opened up, there's just nowhere to be sitting on the bomb site any longer. That's when things just start falling apart.
5 seconds to insertion.
We also talk about, you know, timeouts, leadership, leading the players, mentalities. One thing that I don't think we've touched upon is just the sheer, like, stamina of players in these longer matches of, like, best of threes. Not everyone is as accustomed to a best of three environment, especially somebody like Doom, somebody like Noodle, who are new players. Gavin himself, of course, as well. Canadian, I mean, he's gotten best of fives many times in his career. He's used to it. But being able to reserve your energy and spend it accordingly throughout a full best of three or best of five scenario is a skill in itself that you can only learn with experience and time. I don't think that can truly be taught, even by Canadians saying, hey guys, keep in mind, we got a long day ahead of us, you know, reserve your energy. I don't think it's that simple, right? You gotta be in there and understand, okay, where are my mental capacities gonna be going? How much brain power am I using every single round here? Because it is a long day for them.
Yeah, I mean, if you go by when some of these players are waking up, when they're scrimming, when they're practicing, I mean, we're looking at, what time is it right now?
It's 9:09, I believe.
You are absolutely correct. 09. 09. Some of these players have been up all day. I mean, it wouldn't be uncommon for some of them to have been awake over 12 hours at this point. Fatigue will set in.
Certainly.
Especially knowing how some of these pros, they love to
What?
dose with energy drinks.
Oh, that's what it is.
And of course, then you've got the crash, and you have to rise up yet again. Look at Gavin, by the way. Unable to stop Pambazoo's death, but prevents any more from Noodle. Gavin making it his own! 3 huge kills from Gavin. What a superb play. Yeah, DZ lose too, but he bails them out of a bad situation. He sets DZ up for success with a minute and 10 still to go.
And because you still have Hibana on Skies, or Skies on Hibana Live rather, you can still open up the hatch and the walls. And that really is going to be one of the defining factors of the outcome of this round, because if you lost the Heartbreacher, Uno on Wamai and Grishtan and Mute can easily hold down this in a 2v3. Deployable shield, Goyo, fire, etc. But because they cannot be exposed in the breach and the hatches, all of a sudden, this is not as easy as it could be.
Grizzly's just trapped right now. So fire from one of those Goyo shields will prevent entry from DZ for 20 seconds. Means one less avenue to get on in. Good tracking from Grizzly as the drone goes across, but is shot away at. A small opening in the wall will be watched by him. Nade goes in from NJR. Flash goes in as well from Gavin. Skies breaks on in, loses the duel. Technically, he's down, but not out. Grizzly is no more. Nice shot by Uno. He's technically in a 1v1.
5 seconds left.
Taking some damage. Can he stop Gavin in the moment? No. Diffuser goes down. Gavin, who's been so phenomenal, 6 kills, will look for a 7th onto Uno. Sitting on that diffuser, sees the legs of Uno and will reposition. He's got time to work with. 30 seconds left. Uno hot on his heels. Gets shot out, and Gavin gets every single kill for the ace. His first Tier 1 international event, and Gavin gets them all.
Yep. That is extremely impressive. And again, Gavin had if you recall all the way back on border, he was like 0-4 or 0-5. And I always say the hardest kill to get as a player is going to be your first. It's one of those like, I don't want to go 0-5, but I kind of am, and now I'm in my own head about it. And he goes from having a really slow start on border to on the second round of the third map getting an ace. In the first round, he got 2 kills. He is 7-0 right now on the board, getting down the plant and getting a 1-versus-1 clutch against Uno himself. And we always speak, about how players should not feel threatened by certain individuals. But if you're up against a big name in a 1v1, it is never easy. It is very possible that you doubt yourself, that you feel nervous or pressured. These are players that you have likely been looking up to yourself as a player when you were younger, than 18, when you couldn't compete. Gavin just turned 18. He is more than likely to look up to players like Canadian, like Uno, and now he's playing alongside one of them and beating the other one in a 1v1. That is phenomenal. Great start for him.
Exactly what you want, and it's just going to continue to give you so much confidence as well. What you said, by the way, about how, the first kill is the hardest. Yeah, I mean, time after time, player after player will tell you that. So it's not even just your own ability and your own history. There's other people who will vouch for you.
I feel very reassured now and comfortable in my opinion.
Well, you're very welcome. Skies walks in, cannot win that duel at all. Grizzly loses a bunch of HP, retreats back to his shield. Skies down, reunited with Ash, an operator he used to be so familiar with back in the Elevate days.
Oh boy.
Those of you that will remember those.
I'm gonna go out and assume here the DarkZero is trying to change the pace and catch York off guard, right? They played a very slow Chalet, relatively slow border, pretty slow first rounds on Theme Park, because there's no follow-up from Sky, so they didn't want to come into a full side rush and kind of throw the round away, but they want to see what happens if we just kind of throw something at the wall here. Does it stick or not? Well, it coulda, woulda, shoulda, but it didn't, right? Grizzly wins the gunfight. Now you play the 4v5, back to your old route of playing a slow style attack here. And if you wait long enough, you might find the kills elsewhere. Pamsu almost gets that onto Wamai, but he walks away scot-free.
Hatch open, Sloth waiting for the drop. The drone that goes down, but no player to be had. Logic bomb still going off. Canadian could go for the pinch here, but takes a ton of damage in the process. Gavin has been the star of the show so far. 8 kills through 3 rounds. How much higher can this kid's kill count go? Down goes Joom to NJR. Sloth was in that position that we watched. Not too far off. The nade will sail on in. And Sloth goes down to it. Beautifully tossed by NJR. Grizzly and Noodle are last 2 left, but Noodle is the read on Pamba, who can't secure. Now he can. Pamba decides, why not for the re-engagement? Canadian low on HP. This is very, very doable. NJR with Diffuser down now at the halfway mark. Gavin still up, still full HP. But Heroic are not able to stop the Diffuser from going down. Grizzly's been punished. He'll need to be retrieved. Or Noodle will have to go for the 1v3 with the clock working against him. We'll walk right in. By the way, Gavin gets a little greedy. The retrieve will be there. 27 seconds left.
Oh,
almost gets him back up, but is very apprehensive. The problem is that just killed 7 seconds. Now you get him back, and you only have 10 seconds to hop onto that Diffuser. Wait for the telltale sounds of it. NJR on the ground. He gets 1. That's an easy read. Grizzly, you got 1 second. Can you do it? No, you can't. DarkZero will start off Theme Park perfectly 3-0.
Yeah, I mean, that is open and kill 2 of 3 rounds, plant all 3 rounds, and of course the rounds themselves go in their favor. It cannot really get more one-sided than this right now. And this is DC and Theme Park attack, statistically the harder starting side. But as we've seen today in this particular matchup, the favorite side statistically doesn't really matter because it hasn't really been ringing true that much throughout this particular instance.
I mean, there's been a bit of upheaval.
There has been.
Operator balancing. Obviously, you talked about the muzzle changes a while back. Suppressors being everywhere. Now, long barrel being, well, a much better option than it used to be. Certain operators seeing some tweaks. Solus coming into the meta. teams completely blowing up their rosters, bringing in fresh blood, and changing up their roles as well. This is the kind of thing that leads to unpredictability. Now, imagine how much more chaotic this would be if it was a best-of-1 series.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
At least with the best-of-3, the better team tends to win more frequently. It's not always a given. Sometimes the better team on paper and the better team 9 out of 10 times still loses because you end up on that 1 in 10 moment. Either way, DarkZero starting off 3-0, and it's broken the confidence of Heroic. If you go back to Chalet, this is the 7th round in a row that DarkZero has won because they ended Chalet on a 4-round winning streak. And if you recall, or if you didn't tune in for Chalet, there was that unfortunate team kill. And I think that might have had a more profound impact on Heroic than we thought, because they look shaken. They're not playing with the same level of confidence. And then through these 3 rounds, you have trades in terms of kills for 2 rounds. DZ getting the first blood in round number 1. A flawless round to start things off. And then a 1-man army of Gavin getting an ace.
Yeah.
I mean, those are 2 rounds right there that can break your confidence. Oh, we didn't even get a single kill. Oh, we couldn't even kill 1 guy? That does weigh on you.
And we suck.
It does weigh on you.
And I think you mentioned, because during the tactical timeout, I could just briefly hear Missed Officer, the coach of Heroics, kind of like what he was gonna go through in that tactical timeout. It was not strategical whatsoever. It was, guys, we got this, let's destroy them. There was some cursing in there as well, I must add, so I can't exactly quote him on it, but he was trying to motivate his players and bring out their confidence, saying, guys, we got this, we can smash them. Let's go lab, get aggressive. That's exactly what they're doing, right? They're playing a bomb set that allows for 4 roamers. Get out there, inspire confidence, take your gunfights, win them if you can, and then put yourself in that position to win. It's going to be Uno on site single-handedly with 4 roamers around him.
Huge value from the Twitch.
Oh, yeah, a massive value here.
Twitch getting a big buff in terms of her gadgetry, but I mean, would you argue there's a nerf with her weapon?
See, I would actually say from a competitive standpoint, getting 1 more drone, regular drone that is, and losing the grip is a buff. For rank play, for more casual play, if you don't really play around the utility, it's honestly a nerf, because lesser recoil is always nice to have. But for this instance, more info, so much better.
Logic Bomb will go off. I think you're absolutely correct, and I think it's important to remind the people who watch, because the people who consume this content do so at a wide variety of rankings.
Certainly.
You have people like such as yourself who watch when you're not playing as a former pro, and then you have people such as me who play at a bronze level, you know?
I mean, Parker, you're at least a gold player. Don't be
It's the nicest thing you've ever said to me. Let's take a brief break just to tell you, oh, never mind. We'll talk about it in the next round. Joom down for the count, NJR follows. Both teams trade out on 1. The killing begins very late into the round by our standards. You have to watch for any pesky frost mats that might be on the board. Uno has all 3 of them placed somewhere, but Heroic are having some struggles with their own duels. Panbazoo winning the engagement against Sloth, and DZ are up 1. Crazy to think. Gavin and NJR combined for 15 kills. That's double Heroic's kill count, and that's just 2 players on DarkZero. To be fair, the only other person with kills on the team is Panbazoo with 2. But Canadian can't shoot back either. The Solus still on the board. Grizzly getting 1 pick to put us into a 3v3 with 30 seconds left. The bloodshed will continue. Down goes Gavin. Pamba needs to watch his angles. It seems almost certain that the first round will go in favor of Heroic, but hold on a moment here. Panbazoo gets 1 kill. He's got some safety in his position. Grizzly will creep up. Gives his position away. Pamba gets off and wins the duel. Goes right back on, but he's going to need to stick it. Will he be able to get past the point of no return? Noodle allows him to do just that. Pamba's up and the position's been given away, but he looks the wrong direction. A tense moment and a 1v1 that breaks in favor of Heroic, but it so easily could have been a DarkZero 4-0. Heroic gets on the board, and that is something that they so desperately needed.
I'm not gonna lie. Was it Noodle on Oryx, I think? Right? Yeah, it was Noodle. He played the 1v1 like an absolute brainiac is what I'm gonna say, because instead of circling around this area, he talks on the sandbags essentially, and Panbazoo, he wide swings the angle, expecting him to try and swing back. He's just sitting in that corner, and it's like the most obnoxious, kind of weird, unorthodox, doesn't make a lot of sense play to make, and that's exactly why it worked. It's the last thing anybody really expects in that scenario, so you go for the white swing, right? To fight back. Oh, he's not even doing that. I am dead. Okay. Well done for Noodle. I mean, Uno as well. Praise to him. Held on the bomb site, got those 2 kills, burned down the clock. Pemba then found himself into the 1v1 situation by playing it smartly. Also, that drone giving information to him to make that right decision. But it comes down to the wire again. And the lab bomb site, it works out. Very underrated bomb site at that, I would say. Because again, you can play 4 roamers, 1 bomb site. It's hard to rush that side, so 1 member is all you need. You can play the entire map, like quite literally, the entire map on that bomb site. It is so much to clear for the attacking side. But the issue is, once you win it, it's locked for the following 2 rounds. And if it's the only place you found success, it is where you want to go back to, but you can't. So throwing this up instead. Spawn pick attempt. Noodle hits the shoulder instead. Very close to Canadian's head, but he misses. And Troy stays alive.
What do you think the point of no return would have been for Heroic there? DZ wins, they're up 4-0.
Yeah, I think that's the turning point.
I think that might be it, but...
I think if you take a tactical timeout, as they did after round 3, and your coach is, you know, just like, literally no strat talk. Just like, guys, we got this, confidence, get out there, you're so much better than they are. And then you lose the 4th round. I mean, that's the point of no return, I think.
Yeah.
Now they had those words of encouragement. They then succeeded in their job. They won a 1v1, massive win for the team. And now they got a round on the board. This is a moment for them to start building momentum to work with, but it can very quickly be taken away again. Ah, he reads better off it, never mind.
Soft poised, waiting for the drop into maintenance, but nobody's going to have it. Or down below in maintenance, sorry. Gavin will open things up. Gavin into Throne. And a pre-fire from that back position, but he looks in the wrong direction. Uno's there, ready for it. Heroic with the lead-off kill in this round. At least the Shining Light is that Gavin was able to get those Selma charges off in time.
It's true. I mean, I would say one thing is that the Selma charges are placed vault height rather. So while the breach is successful for getting pressure towards the bomb site itself and denying some safety, it's not a great entry point for DC, but they might never get to the entry point scenario because they're falling apart in the roam clear right now as the 3rd member just gets dropped from the map.
Heroic seemingly finding something here.
There's the vault.
Pam in a 1v5. These 2 teams, they love their flawless rounds. Yes, they do. Heroic within moments of being able to get their own in this map. They've already got 2 so far on the matchup. Heroic had a flawless round on Chalet, had a flawless round on Border. Can they get one in every single map? That's quite a feat. Pambazoo has 40 seconds left. He'll make a ton of noise. Trying to draw them out. Maybe just prove to be a spoiler. Do it for the stats. This is the engagement right here, and Pambazoo loses it out to Noodle. Heroic starting to warm things up. They're a single round away from tying the game, and it is indeed flawlessly done in round number 5.
Yep. Now they can tie it, or they can go on that 1 round disadvantage. Either way, the side swap is going to be the most defining factor, whether it's going to be a statistical success of like defense is just easier or attack is easier, but the thing is, I would say defending on Theme Park, regardless of the meta right now what it was 2 months ago, I definitely see defense being significantly easier, right? The nature of the map, how it flows, how you have limited access to bomb sites, you have strong areas you can control in the map, like for example a cafe or a cache on the opposite side of the map, arcade stairs, hard to walk up on, yellow stairs, hard to take as an attacker as well. Unless you have some sort of element of surprise or an execute operator like let's say Ying or the Osa or maybe a Monty for example, there's just no easy solutions for the attack and lineup besides shooting heads. When defenders have deployable shields, utility, magnets, Romitis, etc., it's not that simple to hit those heads whatsoever.
5 seconds remaining.
Final round of this heroic defense. DarkZero on attack. Over to bunk and daycare we go. Only 1 bomb set hasn't been played, is that correct?
That would be correct, and that would be the, what's the word?
The office
Office
initiation.
Yes, that is correct.
the other top floor bomb site. Despite it being such a hotly contested part of the map, you contest the map control, you don't contest the bomb site in it. But it is a very, very important artery that leads into the bunk daycare portion of the map, and also leads eventually into that Throne Armory defense down below. Throne being the most played bomb site so far, played 3 times. The first 2 rounds went to DZ so dominantly, but finally the most defender-sided bomb site in the entirety of professional play broke for the defenders. Well, in the round that just transpired.
And it wasn't flawless, so it is a good bomb site after all. Who would have thought?
Not me.
Not me.
Not me.
DZ again, kind of changing the pace here round to round. Some rounds they go super fast, and they go that medium pace. Right now they're opting for a good old slow approach here, keeping Heroic guessing as to where they might be. Now DZ does not have the nuke available. They banned it themselves, so there's no trickery or foolery around the bomb site of where they might be. Heroic should know where most of these members are going to be attacking from. Gavin with a global gadget on the balcony of Cafe can apply some pressure and still utilize support for his teammates, of course, across the map. DC looking to break into the break room here, which is no easy feat because you gotta rappel in these windows, but no one's actually contesting from the side of Heroic. This is actually doable.
Logic bombs go off yet again. DarkZero has very much favored these operators that are great at giving your position away and forcing you into the same spot, whether it be the Lion, whether it be the Dokkaebi, etc. And NJR will pounce on what could be one of the players from Heroic. Well, he doesn't find anything just yet. First kill goes to Gavin, but he's answered back by Joom. Uno was the one who had been felled. The smoke off the board means no toxic canisters for the final 40 seconds.
It's actually quite damaging. This is now more than ever that you want that operator on the board. Or Goyo, not being played this round.
Look at this patience right now. Grizzly walks right through. NJR's in this spot. Down he goes. DarkZero had kind of lost the plot over the last 2 rounds, but they're doing lots of reading, lots of searching. And you can hear the sound of that DMR going off. The twitch of Canadian Heroic will need to get back into the bomb site. They're boxed out. We talked about office and initiation, how important it was. Well, it's crucial for Heroic. They lose one, diffuser going down. Can they stop it in its tracks? Noodle just needs a single kill to win this round. If he could stop Skies, that would be it, but he can't do it. Does enough damage to drop NJR onto the ground. Canadian is a single bullet away from death, as is Panbazoo. NJR is retrievable. A lot will fall onto the shoulders of Skies, but Noodle's trapped. Inside of the waiting room, he's got a vault hole over by office. He'll make some noise. They know exactly where he's coming from. One set of eyes from Cafe, one from inside a bunk, one from inside a daycare. And that's NJR credited with the final kill, who've been picked back up off the ground. DZ allowed Heroic to start an impressive run, but end it as the first half goes 4-2. No sandwich metaphors this time.
Bro, that warden live swung trash.
Just listening in there, seeing what info we can gather from the voice comms. Nothing really to learn from it, I would say, for this time around, but they've been very insightful, I would say, and I, as a former player, I absolutely love getting just a little, still snippets of information about the insights of other teams. You know, when you see voice comm videos that some teams do, like G2 does them, Core, back when they're called Rogue, they were doing it as well. I would love to actually listen to, Latin teams' comms, but, in English, so I could fully understand it in its fluidity, whereas with translations it get kind of wonky with slang and whatnot. I would love to just be inside the ears of Liquid or FaZe for a full day.
Oh, you're an ear guy.
I am in this case very much an ear guy.
People are feet guys. You're an ear guy. What can I say?
Nothing wrong with that, is there? No shame in here, Parker.
It's true. We don't shame.
Nope.
You like what you like.
Yeah, that's the way it is. And I'm just saying, if I could speak Portuguese fluently for a full day, that's what I would do with my time. Listen to Siege voice comm videos of those teams.
Obviously, teams are quite guarded about their comms, and their callouts might not always be TV friendly.
Also true.
But I think it is fascinating to get the odd listen in. First half in the book, so we have to do the tale of the tapes.
Oh, right.
By the way, believe it or not, both teams relatively evenly matched on those opening first picks, despite the 4-2 scoreline. DZ got a flawless round in round number 1. Heroic did so in round number 5. Diffuser got planted 4 times. DZ won every single one of those rounds. 4 times on Theme Park for an attacking team is very impressive.
Very good. Very, very good.
Gavin got an ace in round number 2, and 3 of the 4 bomb sites were played. We did not see Office or Initiation, which is exactly that latter part where Gavin is right now. He played at all. Pambazoo will get away from it as it's a downstairs defense. Throne Armory, the most defender-sided bomb site, as you've talked about before.
Yeah, I mean, it's where you start if you're like 90% of teams in Siege, right? At least this level of play. Like, that's just where you want to go. It makes the most sense. I think Lab is second, or should be second priority for a lot of these teams. I think DC could very well also play it. You know, you play Canadian on site, 4 roamers, how just like Heroic did it with Uno on site and 4 roamers. Right now, we're still in like kind of like the phase 1 of this round, the discovery/roam clear situation, right? We need to establish map control if you're Heroic, and DC gotta burn down that clock. They got the hatch opened up. That's an NAL special, right? You can play very aggressively. I think Astralis was one of the first teams to kind of showcase this at the tier 1 level of play, where you can just overstay top floor for as long as you want and just drop the hatch back to side. Whereas most teams, when they roam, they'll reinforce the hatch to the bomb side and be forced to run back way earlier in the round.
Right you are, Nick. First kill goes to Heroic. NJR leading his team. Well, tied with Gavin, I suppose. But, I mean, they're technically tied. First, technically lead him. 9 kills, no more. Talked in previous maps in this series about persistent gadgets. Very much the case here. Those decoys, those clones, if you want to call it, of NJR, they will still exist. Not the case for Solus. Canadian deteriorating, aging in front of our very eyes. He had a strong map 1, map 2, not that great. Map 3, miserable. But guess what? You've got a supporting cast. Pambazoo panicking a little bit, missing out on the drop of June. He still takes a ton of damage. Skies will need to win a 1v2, but can't do it. He picked up his first set of kills in this entire map. Not enough. Heroic end up punishing them, and on Heroic's very first attacking round, they win.
The first thing we hear is, I don't know if it was Doom saying, why is this so attacker-sided? It's like such a classic thing to say because, yeah, like, as a numbers person, which most Pro League players tend to be, is like, we're not supposed to like win these attacks this easily, and it's happening for both teams. It's one of those like, why is this so attacker-sided? Yep, it's right. Lab actually is being the second priority now for DarkZero, as I was questioning about earlier, and I think this makes a ton of sense. Seeing how Heroic played it, the nature of the bomb site, I personally think it's one of the strongest bomb sites in the game, together, of course, with the Throne bomb site that we just saw, although it was unsuccessful for DC the first time they tried it around. And again, it's just because you can play the entire map. Not the entire, no, the entire map. You can extend all the way to cache, then play top floor, downstairs, and Throne Gong area. You can play inside the bomb site itself, daycare above, bunk beds above, you know, barrels. You make rotates every single area of the map, and you can just run around like crazy. And you can't rush this bomb site, really. That's the big kicker. You can't just rush on it.
I was going to take a moment a couple rounds ago, but I figure I'll do it now because, well, the action began. Obviously no spoilers, but M80 versus FaZe on the other stream is now going to a 3rd map.
Ooh.
So we told you when the first map concluded, the second map has also concluded. Those of you doing basic arithmetic will now understand that both teams won a single map.
Yes.
So of course no spoilers. Just as we have a 3rd map in front of us, they do too. So if you want to go on over to twitch.tv/Rainbow6Bravo, or if you want to look for the VOD at some point later on, feel free to do just that. I'd prefer you to stay here, though, if I'm being totally frank.
Non-biased, of course.
Heroic once again starting off this round with an opening pick, but they lose Uno shortly thereafter. A glorified trade. It was NJR to die first last round. Pambazoo, the first one to go down this time.
Typically trading 1-for-1 favors the defenders in like 90% of scenarios, but on this bomb site in particular, it's like in crazy value here because you only need one side member, as we spoke about earlier. It's Pambazoo on a trap already on Frost, already placed on the gadgetry, etc. And you lose Heartbreach on Uno, the AK-12, and you do damage to the members as well. This is a great look for DarkZero.
just chaos right now.
It is.
Absolute chaos.
That's just the lab bomb side. Like, it's always chaotic. There's so much happening everywhere all at once.
Look at that shot. The damage from the 417, the 417, however you want to call it, the 417 takes out Gavin. Sloth walks right in and just vaporizes a player from DarkZero.
I believe it does 69 damage, actually, if I'm not mistaken.
There's no way.
I'm pretty sure it does.
Production in our ears goes nice.
I'll double check, but I'm
Sorry,
pretty sure
this is where we need a little bit of audience participation. Can we get a nice in the chat? Much appreciated. Thank you very much. Or don't. I mean, you don't need to say nice if you don't want to. Either way. Upper hand goes to Heroic at the moment. These have been a bit chaotic to start off with, but then things have slowed down an awful lot. Joom dropped as he goes through the doorway. Look down. There's those EDDs. And then JR do much more than that. Sloth finished off. Noodle and Grizzly. This is DZ full, holding a full court press. A Lion's Roar comes out from NJR. Heroic could have closed that gap and tied it up, but instead, it's another win in the column of DZ. 2 rounds away from a victory over the EU Heroic squad.
We kind of touched briefly upon it earlier on, what map was it? It must have been Border. How like, yeah, on Border, how like traps, and it's particularly like Frost and Capcom traps, how like easy it is to get hit by them even at this level of play. And in that round, Heroic actually droned out the Capcom traps in both bathroom doorways, which means they had information that the Capcom traps were there, exactly there. But that happened 2 minutes earlier in the round from when it actually injured a member of their team. And it's one of those like, did we know that a Capcom there? And then somebody goes, oh, actually, yes. And the thing is, you're always working these like short-term memory gaps when you're a competitive player, because you cannot keep track of every single thing that's happening for the entirety of the round. So you're always kind of choosing what's relevant, what do we need. And in a perfect world, you will drone out the Capcom trap, and then you will be like, okay, this is important at some point in the round when we get to the bomb side. But right now it's not. I'm gonna forget about it. And then, again, in a perfect world, you're supposed to go back to that information, be like, oh, by the way, guys, bathroom door, Capcom traps, be careful. But rather often, especially from certain players who are not, you know, they're more mechanically gifted, with gunplay more so than strategically, they will not really get back to that point. And they'll be like, oh, right, there was a I did know that, but it didn't really click for me. Definitely a thing that happens. We kind of saw that round. Nobody to be blamed for it, but something that you can work upon, of course. We're not chess players, we are siege players. We live in the short term, not the long term.
That's chess erasure. There are chess players. There are chess players who also play Rainbow Six. Don't say we're not.
Okay.
Don't say we're not chess players. You don't. Who do you speak? You know who plays chess? Sam Stokes does.
He does.
Maybe DZ do too. Who knows? Pan Bazoo gets the very first kill. Down goes Sloth. These two players have been involved in the opening pick so frequently, and I mean, with the way that they've been playing their roles, that's pretty understandable. And JR's also been involved in it as well, and he takes a chunk of damage. Half of his HP gone. Again, a relatively slow round. But the good news is that there's a Doc on the board, and those stims are mighty strong. Doc needed those changes after Thunderbird came into the game, and because of that, NJR gets back to full HP and a very handsome overheal.
We're huge for the Doc change. I mean, it's... You know, I love when we see like year 1 operators being like very present in the current like version of the game, essentially, because it's easy for the simple operators to kind of fall out of the game, right? They don't do that much, but the Doc change really brought him back with a simple change.
Noodle from below, 8 kills to his name. Searching for a kill on that railing, cannot get it. You go back upstairs, try to re-engage. Looks like it's Canadian, the one who will be watching over arcade stairs for you. Uno's controller's batteries died. He's searching for them somewhere in the building. We hope that he finds them in time, because there's only 50 seconds left in the round. 4 kills separate DarkZero from match point. Problem is that Heroic needs to go up the stairs. That's half the battle right there with these maps. I mean, you play Cafe and try to go up the stairs. Tell me how that goes for you.
Okay.
Nice read by Noodle on the Canadian. Down below, still inside a lab, but this has killed 30 seconds worth of time, Nick.
All right. I mean, they gotta go very soon.
It's Noodle's time to go up those arcade stairs. Panbazoo crossing over towards Cafe, engaging, wins the fight, looking for the drop. Is his read correct? No, it's not. But now Noodle will go up those same set of stairs. Uno taking damage, but he trades out in the process. He gets finished off. It's Grizzly engaging with Skies. It's a shotgun long range, and the pistol comes out. This is never a good sight.
Aww.
And Grizzly knows that it's over. The clock gives the round to DarkZero. They're on series point.
Yep, and you see they're staying calm and collected. Not even a brief moment of celebration for DarkZero. They mean business, but also they know that this has maybe been a bit tough of a battle than what they anticipated originally before this matchup started. Looking at, you know, them playing with Slav instead of their supposed player of Oscar. Looking at how Chalet Major went, you know, this is a rematch where DC won 7-5 border, 8-6 Chalet. Not easy by any means, but those were also best of 1 times. This is a best of 3, different landscape entirely. Passable last round between DC and Heroic, the group stage at least. It's gonna be thrown up next on the board. And Slav had a bit of a quiet second map, decent first map. Doom, however, he was doing rather well through both map number 1 and map number 2. He's currently 1 and 8. And when you're defending as Heroic, I'm not really gonna question that too much. I don't see Doom as like the defining factor for the defending side of this team. But on the attack, however, I mean, we saw it last round. There was a lot of, you know, inaction. Just nothing will happen. Just the Heroic waiting around for better days. No one is acting upon anything. Doom is like the player who tends to do this. And Benja Master, when he was in Heroic, was the second person to follow up, right? It's going to be Doom and Benja being aggressive and Uno kind of being that middleman to lead them forward. Melo, when he joined, they kind of tried out a couple of things, but ultimately he was put in a more supportive cast. We're accept that for this lineup, we want something more aggressive. Right now, it's not really hitting their mark.
Keep in mind, those first 3 rounds being so disastrous for Heroic required them to call their timeout very early. They have not been able to recover. They've won 3 rounds from that point onward, one of which was flawless. But you get into such a big hole, and I know that we always refer to it as a parachute, but it really is. Sometimes you just need to be able to slow down and talk to your team. They're not even able to do that. But good news for fans of Heroic. Doom takes out Panbazoo. Yet again, Panbazoo involved in the first bit of action. They cuss at one another, but in the war of words, Heroic are the ones who come out on top.
See, Waldeneye, there is none of. Impact grenades, NGR, he has 2 in pocket. That could prove valuable here. He's gonna intend the first breach go through, it seems. Yep, and then deny with the second one. Now Uno can trick out 1 for 1 for 1 and have 1 summer spare pocket at the end here. That's the only hard breacher for his team. That is the right approach, because if this wall does not get opened up successfully, the round is doomed. There's a shot, there's a chance for Heroic, but again, the breach is a vault breach. It's not ideal, and Jahi fights back.
I can't believe he bothers to engage.
No, that's risky.
And he might be pushed from that dragon door as well, but there's a crossfire from one of his teammates deeper in the bomb site. Sloth at that dragon door, as we talked about. Uno in position as well. You talked about this being a chess match. Well, they're moving about as frequently as chess pieces do.
And we're not talking Blitz, but the classic version.
No, not at all. Nade comes in from Juma.
It's big.
Characteristically poor game, blowing up NJR. Now there's free passage. Woo! Long range, Jum takes matters into his own hands. Had 2 kills before that little burst of action, but DZ fights back. They've still got some life in them. Uno and Grizzly now. Last 2 players for Heroic. DZ want all the points that they can get. Canadian, the old vet, Gavin, the brand new player.
Attackers are activating the bomb diffuser.
Calls going out from the teams. You can hear it yourself.
Defenders have eyes on the diffuser.
Sitting on top of the diffuser. They don't really have much information here right now, but there might be some form of 6th sense. Grizzly is far enough back, watching towards the throne. Uno's there as well. DZ need to make something happen. They're at the halfway mark. Tense moments. Heroic wants the comeback desperately, and it looks like they're going to get it. Grizzly sees the barrel of the gun, and that's it. Heroic deny DZ the map and deny them the match, but they've still got a long road to walk because the only way Heroic get out of this is one of two. In overtime, or in a body bag.
Yeah, I would say Ju made a huge play with the grenade and the follow-up kill with a nice flick, but then he might have over-aggressed in toward the other end of the bomb site and it cost him his life. And it made Heroic's chance of the round a lot more difficult than it should have been. So a valiant effort, but a bit of overconfidence. One success was found from his side. And the benefit for DarkZero is that they can go through the motions of bomb sites. They can go here for the first time on Office. If they lose, they go 6-5. Then they can go lap downstairs or Throne again. Statistically, in a great position, at least in bomb set preference. And this will now mean that we've seen every single bomb set being played out, as Office has been missing from our bingo card that we have on our table here. So a hallelujah for all bomb sets being played again.
Big confirmation as well that those player comms were picked up on the stream. So those of you watching at home or on the go were able to hear what the players were saying right in the heat of that moment. And if, by the magic of production, they allow us to do listen-ins yet again, I am more than happy to shut up and let them talk.
Wonderful. I mentioned many rounds ago that Ying and or Monty would be a great execution enabler to get a way into some of these rounds. And we're not just seeing one of those two operators, we're seeing both being brought out simultaneously. Uno on the Monty and Sloth on the Ying. I really like that we're changing things up now, but it's very late, right? It's 6-4 match point and now we're bringing out the fancy things. I would like to see this before we're absolutely in the guts, and I keep saying we, and I'm sorry about that, but that is just the way the cookie crumbles. However, Heroic, they got a tall task ahead of them. They need to show that this change was for the better. Sloth not having the best success in the attacking side so far. He's okay with the 5 and 8. I think him leading the charge with Uno could prove much more valuable on the Ying, however. He did a great job on IQ and Chalet, which is a similar kind of setup operator as well.
I like the ability to repick into this. This is going to be a very challenging lineup and a very frustrating lineup to deal with. But I like some of the tools that are being brought here from DarkZero. You know, they flexed onto the Warden. They suspected that this was coming. The Warden got picked. You've got Solus as well to give you some information on where these gadgets are going to go, especially if there's smoke on the board. So you've got tools here for DZ to get themselves out of whatever tricky situation Heroic tries to put them in.
Oh, I agree. And it's kind of troublesome. Like, Sky's in the vault position. He will deny the entire bomb set of Office. And then you got... Oh, never mind. You got to jumping out a window and getting a kill. No cover.
No ace available. That's it for Hard Breach. You have to hope that the Selmas were able to open up as much as is humanly possible. Canadian sacrifice for the greater good. Heroic finds 2 kills very quickly on. They'll split their forces now. The Ash opting for another way in, but both Sloth and Noodle get spotted out. The Monty is still up with Diffuser, but that leaves just Joom to watch. Not a lot of coverage. It all rests on the shoulders of one player, and while Joom is talented, it can be a tall task. Diffuser goes down, though. You've got yourself in a much better position than you were seconds ago, but Uno's going to continue to relay information. Joom needs to be wary of getting pushed from the back. Out goes a toxic canister. Joom punched on, and the Monty goes down to give DZ the win. They'll climb on that Diffuser and make it official. It wasn't 7-5, but it was 7-4. It's as close as you're going to get. A nail-biter between both of these teams, but the North American squad picks up a victory on map number 3.
Yeah. And I mean, a great showcasing from both teams. Also, the new members of both teams. Gavin getting an ace, having a phenomenal game on Theme Park. Of course, Noodle and Sloth, who's not really new, but he's back, right?
He's back.
Also had great